You know, sometimes a single sentence can tell you everything you need to know about a mystery. For this one, it's these 4 words, taken right from the original investigation. They're simple, they're chilling, and they set the stage for one of the most baffling, unsolved cases of the 20th century.
Okay, so let's get right into it. We're talking about the Dyatlov Pass incident. We have to go all the way back to 1959 to a really remote frozen slope in the Ural Mountains of the Soviet Union. Today, we know that place as Dyatlov Pass, and what happened there has managed to defy any logical explanation for over 60 years.
So here's how it all begins. A group of student hikers, they're supposed to check in, but they don't. They're just gone. Days turn into weeks, and finally, a search party is sent out into this brutal, biting cold. But what they find on that desolate mountainside, it isn't just a tragedy. No, it's the beginning of a profoundly terrifying mystery.
There were 9 of them. And I want to be really clear here. These were not novices. These were skilled, experienced hikers and skiers, all students or recent graduates. They were trained for exactly this kind of tough winter expedition. They knew what they were doing.
And this is the first clue that just makes no sense. The search party finds the group's tent, their only real shelter out there, and it's been sliced open. But here's the kicker. The cuts were made from the inside. Something made them so terrified, so desperate to get out, they couldn't even spare the few seconds it would take to just open the flap. They had to cut their way out.
And this is what they fled into. A night where the temperatures dropped to -30°C, that's -22 Fahrenheit. They ran out into that deadly cold, some of them barefoot, some with nothing on but their underwear. So you have to ask yourself the question, what on earth could possibly be more terrifying than freezing to death?
To even begin to understand what might have happened, we need to know who these people were. You know, this wasn't just a list of names. These were friends. They were athletes. They were bright engineers right at the beginning of their adult lives.
The group's leader was 23-year-old Igor Dyatlov, and the whole team, they were young, super capable, and genuinely excited for this trip. Their goal was a mountain named Atorton. For them, this was supposed to be a challenge, sure, but a manageable one, an adventure.
And their journey started out completely normal. They kept diaries, they took photos, and in all of them, they're in great spirits. One of the hikers, Yuri, actually had to turn back early because of an illness, a decision that, completely by chance, saved his life. And then, on the night of February 2nd, something went horribly, horribly wrong. After that, just silence.
All right, now we need to talk about the evidence, because once the bodies were finally located, this is where the story shifts from a tragic accident into something else entirely. The clues just defy explanation.
The injuries were just unnatural. I mean, several of the hikers had these massive internal injuries, crushed ribs, fractured skulls, but with no external wounds, nothing. It was as if they'd been squeezed by some unbelievable immense force. One of the women, Ludmila Dubinina, was found missing her tongue and eyes. And maybe the most bizarre part of all, there were no signs of a struggle, no signs of an animal attack, and there were no footprints in the snow other than those of the 9 hikers themselves.
And then there's this. As if things weren't strange enough, investigators found that the clothing on several of the victims had significant levels of radioactivity. This one clue just blows any simple natural explanation right out of the water. It points toward something far more sinister.
So, you can imagine, in the decades since, with no official answer that makes any sense, people have been trying to piece it all together. And the theories that have popped up, they range from the pretty plausible to the truly paranormal.
All right, so let's look at the big ones. Could it have been an avalanche? Well, it would explain why they panicked and fled the tent. But the search party found 0 evidence of a recent avalanche, and those internal injuries don't really line up. Okay, how about a secret military weapons test gone wrong? That would explain the radioactivity for sure, and those reports of strange lights in the sky. But this was the hyper-secretive Soviet Union. Getting any kind of confirmation was just impossible. Or does the answer lie in something else? Local legends talked about a strange paranormal force on that mountain. It's an idea that kind of fits the bizarre scene, but there's no real concrete proof.
And what did the official investigation say? Well, they concluded the hikers died from a compelling natural force. I mean, what does that even mean? It's a phrase that explains absolutely nothing. The case was shut down fast, the files were classified, and the whole thing was swept under the rug. A classic Soviet-era move that basically guaranteed this mystery would be debated for generations.
So why? Why, after all this time, are we still so completely captivated by this story?
Why does the Dyatlov Pass incident continue to haunt us?
I think the reason is pretty simple, actually. The official story has never been good enough. It's not even close. When you have these insane internal injuries with no external cause, you have missing body parts, you have confirmed radioactivity, a vague, dismissive conclusion like a compelling natural force just doesn't cut it. The facts demand a better answer. An answer we've never gotten.
And maybe that's really the heart of why it has such lasting power. The Dyatlov Pass incident is more than just an old, unsolved case. It's this chilling, powerful reminder that there are forces out there in this world, whether they're natural or man-made or something else entirely, that just operate beyond our ability to comprehend them.
So in the end, we're left with 9 silent victims and a story that has no final page. Did they just stumble upon some dark government secret they weren't supposed to see? Were they just victims of a 1 in a billion freak natural event? Or did they come face to face with something truly unknown in that desolate cold? The only thing we know for sure is that on that night, 9 experienced hikers fled their only shelter in absolute terror, running from something they feared more than freezing to death. What that was, well, the mountain still isn't talking.